Hello, students. So now we are going to be talking about typecasting. This refers to changing one data type to another data type. That's what this typecasting refers to. So let's start with implicit typecasting. Here, your Python, it automatically converts data type when it is saved. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this example right here. So my A equal to 6, my B equal to 3.8, and my C equal to 1 plus 2j. And what Python does, let me run this cell first. So what Python is doing is when it sees 6, right, it knows that this is an integer. So since it knows this is an integer, it's gonna assign this integer to the A, and my A now becomes integer data type. So Python you did not actually have to explicitly mention to convert this into integer. Python implicitly converted your A into an integer right here. And this is why when I print my type A, it prints integer right here. Now let's look at the second one. In this case, it sees a 3.8. 3.8 is a float. And because this is a float, Python converts implicitly, it converts your B into float. That is why when you see type B over here, when I print my type B, it prints float. And same thing with this over here. Because of the presence of j over here, Python recognizes this is a complex number, so it converts your C into a complex number. So when I do type C, it prints complex over here. Okay, sometimes you have to convert a string to an integer or a float, or maybe other way around. You may have to convert float or integer to a string. So let's do that. So how do you convert a string into integer? Let's say you have a string x equal to 10. You see this is in quotes right here. So this is how I know it's a string. Now, if I print my type, okay, so let me just come down and remove all these steps. So if I run this cell and if I print my type, it's going to print string, right? Now, what if I want to divide this thing by 10? Well, let's see what it does. It gives me an error, okay? And the reason it's giving me error is because you cannot do your regular numerical operation on 10 because this is a string. So what if you get a data that's in a string and you have to do some mathematical operations on it? How do you do that? Well, this is where Python gives you the option or gives you the ability where you can actually convert your one variable or one data type to a different data type. That's called typecasting. And the way you convert into integer, you call this method, this function called int. So I'm calling int x, and this will now what x becomes, it becomes your the type of x now is integer. So when I run this, now you can see when I ran this print type x, it was string right here. And then when I converted my x into integer, and then I print my type x again, and as you can see, it's printing integer. And then I do my x divided by 10, and now it works just fine. Its answer comes out to be 1. Okay, how about you want to convert integer, sorry, a string to a float? You can do that too. So let's say my x equal to 15.7. So I do the same thing. Okay, I divide x divided by 10. Okay, I run this, it's going to give me an error because this is a string. So it's not allowing me to actually do perform division over here. What if I want to do division? So what I can do is I can convert my x into a float. So once I convert it into a float variable, then I print my type. Okay, let me run this. Then I print my type. It prints out my type as a class float. Now I divide by 5 and it works just fine. So I'm able to divide 15.7 by 5 because I have converted that into a float variable, and the answer is 3.139999. You can also convert, by the way, one more thing, you can only convert valid number string to integer float. So for example, let's say your x is equal to something, weird thing, let's say heebie-jeebie, and you try to convert this into an integer, it's gonna throw an error. So let's try to convert this into integer, and as you can see, it throws an error. The only thing you can convert if it's a number, otherwise it's not gonna get converted. Same thing with the float. If you try to convert this into a float, it's gonna throw an error. So here I'm trying to convert my x into float by using this method called float, and as you can see, it gives me an error over here. Okay, so how about you want to convert integer or float to a string? You can do that too. So let's say my x equal to 32. In this case, my x is integer, and the way you convert integer into a string, you write str. Okay, that's the way you convert any variable or integer or a float to a string. And I print my x. So let me just run this here. Print my x right here. It prints out x as 32, and I'm also printing my type of x, and it prints out type as str. Okay, you can also convert float to the integer and vice versa. In other words, you can convert float to integer and integer to float. So let's do that. Let's say my float. Okay, this is x equal to 10.7. This is my float. And how do I convert this into integer? I say x equal to int x, and I print my x over here. And as you can see, it's going to convert into integer. By the way, one side note, that when you convert your float into integer, it would truncate the decimal part. And as you can see, the zero point 0.7, it's gone. You don't see 10.7, you only see 10. So when you truncate, when you actually convert a float to an integer, it removes the decimal part. You can likewise convert integer to a float. So in this case, when I run this, as you can see, when I say x equal to float x and I print my x, it types print, it basically types 10.0. So it has converted into float. You can also type, by the way, just to confirm, you can type print type x over here. So if I print type x, okay, and that's going to give me a float right here. So let's run this, and as you can see, it's a float right here. This was my integer, and now it's a float. Now there's something called Boolean typecasting. So in Boolean typecasting, what happens is that all the empty values, they are turned into false, and all the non-empty values, they are turned to true. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say you do bool 0. Okay, now 0 is my 0, right? It's basically, in this case, it's gonna print, let's run this, you can see it's gonna print false. Okay, so bool 0 gets converted into false. Now remember, your boolean has only two values, true or false. That's it. So if you do bool 0, the answer would be false. What if you do bool 42? Well, the answer would be true, because this is not an empty string. Okay, what about bool empty string? Okay, in this case, there's nothing in it. So there's nothing in it, it's going to print false over here. How about bool hello? Well, there is something in it. Because there's something in it, it's going to print true. So this way you can do typecasting of numbers or of string into a Boolean variable. Then there's a container typecasting. So, for example, you have list, tuple, set, these methods are available to you. So let's say you have numbers, okay? This is your list right here. You can convert this into set. And the way you convert is invoke this function called set. So call set on this numbers and then print my numbers and then print my type. So let me just comment all this thing out. All right. So let me just okay, I commented everything out. So this is my list. I'm converting into set and I'm printing my numbers and I'm printing my type just to show you. And as you can see, it's using a set notation. So see, my list right here has been converted into set, and I'm also printing my type, and it's printing type as a set. Okay, now let's do this right here. Let me just comment this thing out. Okay, come back over here and uncomment this one out. So here I'm converting my list into a tuple now. Okay, so I convert my list, my numbers into a tuples. I'm printing my numbers, and I'm also printing the type of my number. So as you can see, it has converted into tuples. You see the tuple parenthesis right here, round bracket. So this is a notation for your tuple. So I know it's a tuple. Also, I'm confirming it by typing print type numbers. Okay, and it prints out the type as a tuple. Okay, you can also convert it back into list. So now my numbers from here, it's a tuple. So you can convert a tuple into a list. I'm just calling this list right here on my numbers. And then I'm printing my numbers and I'm printing my type of my numbers. So when I run this, as you can see, you see now it's printing back to the list right here. Okay, I'm printing my type of my numbers. It is class list right here. So this way, this is called typecasting. So you can convert your integer to float, float to integer, your string to integer, integer to string, your other variables to Boolean. You can convert like your list tuple set into one or the other. So this is called typecasting.